Hey, Nation, this is a special treat. We're with Danny Brown and his twin brother, David Brown. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Excellent. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Well, you're known for the Twins Talk It Up podcast, so we see the branding in the background. And then you're the author of Talk It Up, A Guide to Successful Public Speaking. So I want to talk about all that. It's an underrated skill. You know, when people don't realize how important that is in your career, especially as you become more senior. So maybe David, over to you. The power of the pause, and how can it help with brain freezes and combating filler words?
Well, that's a great question. And why Dan and I speak and train on the power of the pause is to allow speakers and presenters to understand that when they give that slight pause, it will provide an opportunity for the audience to really soak in everything that's being shared, everything that's being said, but it also gives the presenter an opportunity to collect their own thoughts. So there's something powerful about pausing. The temptation is to want to speed through the conversation or to try to pick up somewhere else. But when you place a pause in the right place, it will give your audience time to soak it in, think about it, marinate on what you've been sharing with them. And it would also give the speaker time to collect their thoughts and then be able to pick up.
Yeah. Two thoughts. One is it almost sounds like a Socratic law professor, where they like to do that in law school, right? They'll just pause until someone finally, gets so nervous they try to answer the question. The other thing, I just did a podcast with the CEO, Marnie. Forget her last name, forgive me, but a couple of weeks ago, and she was a elementary school or middle school teacher before she became the CEO of a tech company in our space. And she talked about the 7-second pause in the classroom, right? That she had this formula. Does that make sense?
It does. I love that. That is awesome.
Yep. Well, Danny, over to you. Body language is why is body language a key success factor for a speaker?
When you walk into the room and people see you confident, they're confident in what you're going to say before you even alter your first word. And that's why body language is very important. It comes across as you are the subject matter expert. You're here for a reason, and that's why everyone's here to listen to you and hear what you have to say and you have to deliver. So before you do anything, they say 6% of communication is nonverbal, and body language is part of that.
No kidding. Yeah, I'm a pacer when I typically speak, right? When I be up on the big stage, I go back and forth. Anything to read into that, pacer versus standstill?
The way I like to look at it, and I'll let Dave answer, is pacing allows a person to get on the journey with you. It allows you to keep the people moving rather than being stagnant. And so if you get the audience to be involved, either through laughter, clapping, being part of your journey, and if you're pacing, they're moving their heads and their eyes to follow you, that's keeping them energized, that's keeping them connected. So there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's not coming across as nervousness. But if it's coming across as I'm collecting my thoughts, I'm getting you to come with me on my journey, I'm about to tell you a great story, then pacing is amazing.
Harry, I have nothing to add. We are twins for a reason, and Dan is correct. Pacing is not a bad tool strategy unless you're nervous. If you give off those signs, those vibes, you make your audience feel like you're fumbling through your presentation or you don't know where you're going or why you're about your pacing, then that old adage of no rhyme, no reason comes true. So use it in a way that will benefit your position as a speaker, but don't allow it to become a distraction.
Okay. And David, speaking of which, what's a strategy for speaking with C-suite executives and decision makers?
I love it. That's an incredible question. And when Dan and I were working on this book, Dan was very instrumental in crafting this segment of the book because of a number of interactions he has with the C-suite level. One thing we try to keep in mind is you've got to speak where they are. Typically, members of the C-suite do not have time for long dialogue. They don't need you to bring your entire history. They don't want your entire resume. They just want to know the facts. They want to know the numbers, or what we call the KPIs that pertain to them, not that you think are important to you, but those that pertain to them. And at the end of the day, the biggest reason to working with them is how's it going to benefit them? What's the profit? What is this long-term goal? What is this mean in terms of impact? So speaking with the C-suite is a valuable skill that can be learned, but you have to remember you're speaking with a specific audience that wants to hear a message in their way. And if you don't know how to disseminate information in short, bite-sized, power, get to the point, show me the profit, show me what's measurable, they're not going to listen to you.
Yep. Hey, Danny, best practices for speaking virtually and presenting virtually.
That is an excellent question. And we get that all the time. I'm not in front of the audience. I can't always see their expression. How do I know they're engaged? And one of the things we do is tell them, make sure you do your breathing before you get on stage, even the virtual stage. Do your practice your breathing. You want to come across your first words powerful, and you want to make sure it's articulate. You want to make sure that people feel the energy. If you don't breathe, you get up there, you're short breath, or you're very nervous, it's going to squeak out. So that's the first thing you to do. And the second thing you do is you change things up. Ask more questions, do more pauses. When you pause in a virtual conference, people are going to wonder, is it my speakers? Is it my microphone? What's going on? Why, what's going on? And now you re-engage them again. So there is a powerful opportunity to speak virtually, and you do not have to always be live in front of people to make an impact.
All right. Well, hey, finally, for both of you, what's next? What other books and projects are you working on?
I'll start off and let Dave go next. Dave's going to talk about the other books that we have. But really, we wrote this book to really help the people in our audience, specifically MSP owners. A lot of these owners, they go to conferences, they go to roadshows, events, they speak, but also when you're reaching out to new potential clients, how do you come across? How do you help them to understand the story? How do you understand them so they understand you, and then you get a win? And so this is not just for people that are not in the tech space. This is for all individuals, specifically for those MSP owners. So we're going to continue to have more book launches. We're going to have a couple more publicity going on. And then Dave and I will do some more giveaways. We'll have a couple podcasts, give away more books. I think Dave wants to share about some other projects that we have coming up as well. But we were nominated for a couple podcast award. We were also nominated on the top book lists for our book for the AAPI as well. So we're really excited to see so many people will get options to either grab a book as a physical book or as an ebook.
Yes, that's a great question. And before I share that, Harry, if you don't mind, Dan makes a great point. There are professionals out here that may not see this as a valuable skill. Even the great Warren Buffett said it was the most important skill that any professional could go after because it can increase their value by 50%. And there are reasons why people don't get elevated to certain levels in their organization. There are reasons why they don't get invited to speak on stage. This could be the missing factor. Now, Dan and I are working actually on a series of 3 books. This was the first book that came out to focus on the area of public speaking and presentation skills. We have another book coming out called Identically Opposite, Find Your Voice and Speak. And it's really to help professionals to find their voice in their workplaces and to be able to position themselves for the greatest impact and influence they can have. And then the third book in this series that's coming out later this year is called Puppet CEO, Cut the Strings and Lead. And this book is really more from Dan and I and our coaching practice that we want to help leaders, specifically business owners, C-suite members, to really look at their position and say, what's holding me back? What are the pressures that's preventing me from being the leader I need to be for my organization? Let's get rid of those things. Let's cut those strings, so to speak, and lead to the best of my potential for the sake of my organization. So those are some of the projects we're working on. And of course, keep building our podcast.
All right. Well, let's get you back next quarter. Let's check in next quarter. Okay. Appreciate your time. Continued success, Danny Brown and David Brown.
Thank you. Such an honor to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.